You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today, we're discussing Chapter 87, but before we do that, I have some ETAs from last time, because as I was editing the podcast, I was like, these are questions that are easy to answer. Let me tell you what they are. Actually, one of them is a spoiler, but one of them is not. So the first one, we had a discussion about Hattori and Momiji. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was like, we were like, yeah, is this after Hattori erased Momiji's mom's memories or before? And then I checked after. I checked in the book, in the rest of the manga after I recorded it, and I sent you a text about this. And I don't know, it seemed like this time in Yuki's memory that we looked at last time was from before Hattori erased Momiji's mom's memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hattori looks older in the Momiji flashback than in the Yuki flashback.
He has a doctor coat on, so either he's being like super or like a light jacket or something, like a suit jacket, but he looks like professional as opposed to not.
So either way, he's more adulty than not wearing a school uniform.
Yeah, I did see a post that I thought was funny on Tumblr where somebody was like, wait, is this just like an anachronism in this script because he would be like 15 or something? He's only like 9 years older than Momiji or something. And if Momiji is like 6, that would make him like 15. So, whatever. Maybe he went to night school to be a doctor. We'll never know.
Got one of those advanced online degrees.
He went to the
University of Phoenix.
Yes, that's what I was trying to remember the name of. And I was like, oh, is that going to be offensive? I don't know. So the point is, it seemed Yuki's memory seemed to be before. So like, I guess Yuki's friend's memories got erased by Hattori. Then Momiji's mom's memories got erased by Hattori. We debated about it for a long time. I've answered the question, I think. Although the timeline is a little bit fuzzy in the manga itself, but whatever. It's fine. Maybe Hattori was forced to be a doctor. They were like, you just wear your dad's coat now. Now you're a doctor. He didn't have a degree or anything.
Just stand there in a doctor's coat and look pretty until you go to school.
People are like, my child turns into a rabbit. And he's like, I never heard of that before.
It's like, child rabbititis. Very rare.
Yes.
Untreatable,
yes.
I'm afraid.
He just gives Momiji a shot of B vitamins.
Yeah.
All right. Good. I just wanted to clarify that. There's another ETA that's in spoilers. We'll get to it later.
As a side note, it took me a minute to realize what abbreviation of ETA you were using, because I was like, estimated time of arrival.
Estimated time of arrival. Edited to add. Let's talk about chapter 87. Are you ready?
So ready.
So ready. Okay, chapter 87 opens amidst a hustle and bustle at school. The kids are all decorating and preparing for the cultural festival, and behind the doors of Class 2D, rehearsal is happening. Minami, the evil stepmother's voice rings out clear. Cinderella, hurry up and make our dresses. The ball's tomorrow, remember? You're such a simpleton. Wouldn't you agree, my dear? Yes, Tohru, the evil stepsister, says hesitantly. If you don't hurry up and finish, you most certainly won't get any dinner. And Tohru flops to her knees, crying. And Minami freaks out and tells her to stop crying. I'm very happy, Hana says, hugging Tohru. You're crying for me, aren't you? Minami tells him to stop hugging and loudly and frustratedly reminds Tohru that she is mean and needs to crush Hana's self-esteem into pieces. I'm impressed you're so passionate about this, Yuki says, arriving in a cloud of shoujo sparkles. And Minami is like, don't look at me, and runs off. Yuki asks how Tohru, who's still crying on the ground, is doing. I'm just, never better. Thank you, she says. Another classmate, perhaps the director of the play or the writer, the scriptwriter, is like, I guess you can't fix a casting mistake. And Tohru apologizes and says she'll work harder. She says, let me try it once more. I don't mind if I don't get any dinner. And they're all like, why wouldn't you get any dinner? Time flew by, Tohru narrates. First it was test preparations, and she remembers studying with Yuki. And the minute tests were ended, we were busy with the culture festival. And Tohru reminds us that their class is performing Cinderella. Hana will be Cinderella. Kyo will be Prince Charming. But Kyo-kun, she narrates, seems upset about it. He wouldn't participate in rehearsal today either. I'm worried. Kyo-kun would make such a wonderful Prince Charming. It's a rare opportunity. I hope the performance goes well. Everyone's working as a team, and our costumes were custom made. And we transition to a flashback. Dry your tears, my lost little lambs, a voice calls. And surprise, surprise, it's Ayame and Mine making a dazzling entrance in the classroom. Ayame has arrived. Time is money, boys and girls. Form a crisp line and tell me everything, especially your measurements. The students are all shocked at Ayame's arrival. Wow, Nissan really came, Yuki says, and all the classmates freak out when they realize that he's Yuki's brother. And Yuki asks how Ayame managed to get into school. Oh, honey, did you expect anything less? I'm a man who never goes back on his word. And Ayame cups Yuki's cheek as the students stand back in awe. No need to fret, my pet, Ayame says. I can easily break down any obstacle that obstructs the path of us loving brothers. You'll get caught, Yuki says bluntly. Mine holds up and points to a note that says, it's all good, and says they got permission. Of course, Ayame says, in the name of the heavens and the earth, the principal bestowed his mighty permission upon us. Now let us begin, Mine. Yes, manager, Mine says, and she looks over at the students anxiously. I don't know, whatever. I don't know if she was anxious or they were. I don't think the sentence is right, but it's fine.
I think the students are anxious.
Yes.
She's eager.
I wrote these notes like a week ago, in between the time that we're recording this and now, so it's all good. It's all good, says the note. Now, Yuki, Ayame says, whipping out a tape measure. Submit to my measurements. I shall make you into gorgeous and slender Prince Charming. Yuki corrects him. I'm not praying Prince Charming. You're looking for that guy halfway out the door. And then they notice Kyo, who's been slyly trying to sneak away, his kitty ears up. Kyonkichi is your prince? I see, Ayame says. Indeed, there's no reason not to make him gorgeous and slender. Despite my complete lack of caring, he's still managing to piss me off, Kyo thinks. Mine greets Tohru, who introduces her to the others in the class, and Uo and Hana, and Mine's eyes gleam with excitement as she asks if the girls like dressing up, and Tohru begs her to be sensible. Mine says they'll be making the costumes, and Hana says, in that case, please make my dress pure black. Pure black, Mine says, eyes gleaming. That has a nice ring to it. Consider it done. And of course, the other girls are thinking, Cinderella's dress can't be black, and she seems actually pleased with the idea. The exciting flashback ends, unfortunately for us, and we transition to the present, where Tohru is still trying her hardest to be mean. I'll try despite my lack of dinner, she says, trying to convince the other kids to let her try again. Okay, the director girl says, tearing up the script. In that case, I'll rewrite the script. If the story doesn't fit in miscasting, I'll rewrite the story to fit the cast. And the kids debate if the story can be changed, and Uo points out the class performing Mito Koman, which we thought we would never have to talk about again, but it's a good thing we talked about it, because we're still talking about it. The kids who were performing Mito Koman replaced what I assume were the three main roles with women who kick the crap out of bad guys. A Japanese Charlie's Angels, Uo cries. Full throttle, Hana adds. So there's a bath scene with someone other than Okin-san in it. I can't miss that. One of the boys shouts, and Yuki's like, I seriously doubt that would happen. Uo gripes again that their play won't be as cool as the other class, and the director tells her not to get jealous. I'm feeling the fire. Now get my pen, she shouts. While she warms up her writing arm, Tohru sweetly asks if she might rewrite the script to make Prince Charming a little bit easier for Kyo to play too. Yuki notices Tohru's concern when the kids start to talk about how Kyo ran off again and how he refuses to rehearse with them. I want to see that punk perform, Uo says. It's sure to be hilarious, she and another voice say in unison, while the director girl writes furiously in the background. Like, so much so that papers are flying everywhere, which is hilarious.
I like the director girl.
Yeah, I like her too. I have no idea who she is. There's a bunch of kids in, like, this part of the story that just, like, haven't appeared at all before, but the director girl's one of them. I enjoyed her. No idea what her name is or anything, but it's fine. Tohru volunteers to go look for Kyo, but Yuki says he needs to go back to the student council, and he pats her shoulder and says, I'll look for him on the way. Outside, Kyo sits on the ground looking disheartened, and he remembers Yuki holding the hat and his childhood thoughts. It makes me sick. If he touched it, it's not mine anymore. I don't want it to be touched. It is dead to me. I don't want it anymore. Yuki finds him outside and calls him out for sulking like a miffed toddler. Those were Yuki's words, not mine. I just want to point that out. And he tells Kyo to go back to class. I'm not sulking, Kyo says. I'm just not interested in dancing around on some stupid stage. You're the one who bothered me after all that crap you said. Yuki says to take it up with him then. Your generally rotten attitude is making Honda-san worry. Is that what you want? Don't talk about her, Kyo yells, and Yuki looks away. You just like screwing with me, Kyo says, and he remembers Yuki telling him about the hat in the hallway at Shigure's house the other day. And Kyo continues, You've no goddamn idea. You had a mom and dad. Everyone needed you and told you what a great person you were. You just jump over people who are trying harder than you ever did. You couldn't possibly understand how someone like me feels. Little Prince Charming without a care in the world. You never had to feel what it's like to have nothing. To wish like an idiot for something you can't have. You're just a... Kyo stops suddenly, shaken. Yuki looks at him and says nothing. Kyo remembers a woman's words. You want him to be like that, don't you? If you didn't have someone to hate, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself, would you? Kyo suddenly punches the window nearby and grimaces and blushes, looking like he's about to cry, but not from his bleeding hand. Go to hell, he says to Yuki, and sulks away. And Yuki just stands there looking upset. Machi and Mio Yamagishi, the Prince Yuki fangirl, come down the hallway carrying supplies of some kind for the festival. Soma-senpai, what are you doing here? Mio asks cheerfully, pressing Yuki a bit, and Machi looks mildly annoyed as usual. Mio notices the window, and Yuki tells her not to worry about it. They talk about the cultural festival, and she says that she's disappointed Yuki won't be playing Prince Charming for the class play. You're exactly what comes to mind when I think of a storybook prince, don't you think, Kuragi-san? I don't, Machi says. The president isn't at all like a prince. And she walks away without another word. Geez, Mio says, why does she have to be like that? It's like she's making fun of people and she acts up in class. Maybe saying weird things is just a cry for attention. Doesn't that sort of thing just annoy the heck out of you? But Yuki doesn't seem to notice Mio's whinging. He's transfixed, eyes wide, as Machi walks away in a cloud of a shoujo bubble texture. It's so good! Back in the classroom, Kyo returns to get his stuff, and he finds Tohru sitting alone there at her desk. She turns and greets him and trots over to him with a bright smile, and she starts to explain, and he's like, Huh? Why are you alone? What happened to everybody? Tohru says that they finished rehearsal and everybody went home. So you were waiting for me, he asks, and she says, I wanted you to see this. It's a revised script. And she holds it up with a big smile. They rewrote the whole thing. I really hope you'll read through it. I'm sure your part will be a lot easier for you now. They made my role a lot easier too. But in my case, it was my fault because my performance was so bad. She was alone, Kyo thinks. What was going through her head while she waited for me? And he remembers Yuki saying, What is it now? Is that what you want? About Tohru worrying about Kyo. And looks upset. Oh, by the way, Tohru says, opening the script, the part they changed the most was, Kyo, your hand is hurt. And Kyo rests his hand on the desk beside her. They look in each other's eyes, faces close, inches apart. Your hand, she says again. I give up, he says, and he rests his head on her shoulder. It's not like I have a choice. He takes the script from her. Just promise me one thing. You won't laugh no matter what, okay? But Tohru is still, hand frozen as if she's still holding the script. Anyway, let's go home already, he says, and he throws on his backpack and doesn't notice the intense blush on Tohru's face. Come on, he says, and she collects herself and kind of wipes her face. Coming, she says, and she runs to catch up with him. That's the end of chapter 87.
Dun, dun, dun.
So good.
Drama.
So much drama. Punching stuff. People being in love. Every time those shoujo, that like texture, that like bubbly texture that happens on Yuki and like Tohru's, those panels, like when Machi's walking away, I'm always like, I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. That's what happens in my head. What a good chapter. Mm-hmm. A short one, but a good one. We're just getting set up.
Yep.
The script is rewritten.
It's another one of those kind of transition-y chapters where like kind of parts are moving into place for the next thing.
Yeah. And things are moving into place for the play, which will be happening next time.
Yep.
So, okay. Discussion topics. Are you ready?
Okay.
I still think I should start adding a damage to the school counter. Because Kyo punched the window now. It's been like, 3 times at least that people have done things to the school. This is where all the damage is happening now. There was a little, these are the things that I noticed at least. There's a little cutaway of Yuki and Tohru, or like in Tohru's kind of like flashback narration that she did this time. There was a little memory of Yuki helping her study again, which I thought was cute. Mm-hmm. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
And then Ayame and Mine show up, which is wonderful.
Yep. Always a good time.
Yeah. Delivered on the promise that Ayame made to Yuki a couple chapters ago when he was on the phone, which is great.
Yeah. It's nice to see Mine again. You've seen Ayame a couple of times since then, but this is the first time we've really seen Mine again.
Yeah, I mean, she was in the background when he was on the phone, but like it was the only time that she like had dialogue and stuff after he went to the Ayame's shop, I think, the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was exciting.
Yep. See them in their element, terrorizing students.
Yeah, terrorizing the youth. Mine looking at everyone like they're like a meal to eat, you know? And then like everyone is so off put by Cinderella's dress being black, which is hilarious to me. But Mine's like, I'm down.
Yeah.
And was still complaining about Mito-koman.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. She's like, it's gonna be so much cooler.
Yeah, she has like her hands up like, it's really good. She's like, I want to be cool too.
Yeah. I think that's funny that they brought that back as like a little gag here.
Yes. I like how she called it Charlie's Angels. I loved Kyo trying to sneak away also.
Yeah. And Yuki just throwing him under the bus without hesitation.
Yeah, I do love Kyo. Like Yuki throwing him under the bus is pretty great.
He's just like, oh, it's not me. It's that guy trying to sneak out right now.
Yeah. I love how Ayame like refuses to believe that Kyo is the prince.
Yeah.
Or at least I guess like it wasn't. Like I think didn't Yuki say on his call before that he wasn't or gonna be, or maybe he was. I don't know.
I don't think he said anything specific. I think he said like it's not a wedding when he asked like how many times he was going to be changing clothes. But...
Right. But yeah, then Kyo, he's like, oh, very well. I guess it's fine to make Kyo slender and gorgeous too, or whatever. It was really funny. Okay, so then I guess we can talk about the drama part of the chapter. So that was all the fun.
Yeah.
The drama part is when Kyo becomes grumpy outside. So last time, Yuki tells Kyo about the hat. He's like, oh, I hope you don't mind if I don't give that hat back yet, because Tohru has it. And kind of like mic dropped and left.
Yeah.
And Kyo was like, what the fuck? Like, Kyo is still being bothered by that. Significantly, I guess, in this chapter. I thought there's this really significant scene. So like he goes on this whole tirade about Yuki, saying that he, everything was just handed to him and that he had parents and everybody loved him and whatever. And it's so, I mean, we know that his life wasn't like that. Like we've obviously seen that now at this point. I think at the beginning of the story, it wasn't so clear. Like Kyo's always had these complaints, I think, about Yuki. Like in the very first time that they argue, I think that some of these things are part of what he said. I actually didn't go back and check. So it's interesting that there's this scene where Kyo kind of stops and he remembers something this woman said to him. It's hard to tell who it is. But she said, like, well, you need him to be like that. And of course, we've seen that the things that he thinks about Yuki are not true at all, right? He was, in fact, told the opposite. He was told that everybody hates him. He was told that his parents abandoned him, right? And he didn't have friends and he didn't have, a family. So all the things that Kyo has these misconceptions about him, that none of them are true. And he has that memory. It's kind of similar to what Shigure told him during Valentine's Day. In case somebody forgot Valentine's Day, that was a thing that happened once. Where Kagura was bothering him to go on a date, and then he was complaining about Yuki to Shigure, and Shigure said, you speak as if you're obligated to hate him. And then he had that like flashback to a bloody person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's similar because like he says like you're as if you're obligated to hate him, and he said like, but like your eyes tell me you're afraid to find out.
Yeah. Which
is similar to the like you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if you didn't have someone to hate
him. Yeah. Exactly. So I thought it was interesting that it's a interesting callback to that. It's obviously a poignant moment in the chapter. So
yeah. It also reminds me of the scene. I think it was that at the beach? I don't know. There's a scene not too long ago when Kyo was like about to like swung a punch at Yuki, and Yuki just stood there and he just stopped like just shy of hitting him.
Yeah. Yes, that was definitely at the beach. It was like right before Kyo goes to talk to Akito. When Akito called him there, and Kyo was I think he was doing the same kind of thing where he was saying all this stuff about Yuki, and Yuki just like looks at him. Yuki didn't react, and he did the same thing here. We're seeing their relationship change a lot more even than before, I think. Like they don't fight as much, but even when they do, like Kyo is always, seems to be really pushing things and is still pretty violent, like at least with the way that he yells at Yuki. Even if they're not like fist fighting anymore. But Yuki just like doesn't engage with him anymore, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I talked about it a little in spoilers last time, but like we're definitely seeing a change in especially how Yuki is just dealing with Kyo. Like
yeah, it seems like
from this point forward, he seems much more like kind of like aware of what their whole thing is, and it's just like I'm tired of doing this shit and it's pointless shit anymore. So
he's kind of like this look that he gives is kind of like really. Like, you really think that?
Yeah.
And Kyo was like, oh, shit. Like, this kind of... And he remembers what the person said, and then he gets really frustrated and punches the window. And he's just like, fuck off or whatever, and then leaves. So, he is obviously, like, Yuki... Yuki made this comment, like, kind of fourth Wall-E comment last time, where he was like, oh, I guess he's not ready to dredge that up yet. I guess it's not fourth wall-y, but I mean,
Yeah.
Yuki's obviously aware of the fact that they have this relationship that's based on based on Kyo's kind of hatred of him, actually,
Yeah.
because Yuki knows that from being a
Yeah,
little
it's
kid.
like it's what I say. Like I think Yuki's kind of known on some level, but it seems like he's more self-aware now. Like this whole thing is just them like pitted against each other by all the circumstances around them, and it's not really anything to do with their actual relationships. So.
Yeah. I do think Yuki has always known that, but
Hmm.
like probably earlier in the story he was just like,
Well, I think it's kind of like what he was saying in his like flashback things, where he's talking about how he like kind of succumbed to the darkness for a while, basically.
yeah.
So like I think like he knew it as a kid, but then like growing older with all this hopelessness and stuff being pounded into his head, he's like, well, fuck that guy too. Like kind of just kind
Yeah.
of fell into it. He's like, yeah, fine, we can hate each other. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
He said yeah, like desire or whatever, it turned into jealousy.
Hmm.
So he was, I mean, kind of jealous of the things that Kyo had. So
Hmm.
yeah, it adds a lot of like legitimacy to the reason that they fight, other than it's just like, well, you're the cat and I'm the rat. It's like
Yeah.
there's more about their circumstance that graded on each other than just that. It's not like just because
Yeah.
they were born like that, which is kind of like what's implied in the beginning of the story, but also all these other things that sort of happened and how they were conditioned by the family to hate each other
Yeah.
in a variety of for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. And just everything at the root of it is just wanting what the other had so badly, and, like not realizing that they simultaneously had what the other wanted so badly.
Did I make a? I made a
Yes, you've
I
made
made a joke before. Okay, good.
the,
What is that name of that story? The pearl necklace.
the like gift of the wise men.
Oh,
or
the gift of the
something.
magi.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it is.
I've made a gift of the magi joke.
Yeah, you made it at least once, I think twice.
I've made it in real life this week also, I think. So, but yeah, it is their whole like, and I think it's funny. It's interesting that I don't. I guess Kyo knows. Does he know deep down? I mean, now he does. I think. I guess it's the same kind of situation where he's like he's envious of what Yuki has, and that also turned into jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait, that's not what I
think,
meant. It was all yeah, whatever. Hatred. It turned into hatred.
Yeah, like I think part of the difference is he didn't know. I don't think when he was young he didn't really have a moment where it was like, oh, maybe I could be his friend, because he had like people saying like, oh, if you were more like the rat, maybe your mom wouldn't kill herself. So
Yeah.
like he had more of a hatred ingrained at a younger age, I think,
Yeah. It seems like all of that already happened before Yuki
before they ever
even knew
met
yeah,
face
before
to
they met.
face. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right on that depressing note.
yeah.
That's all I really have to say about Kyo this time, specifically himself by himself, I guess. The only other note that I have is about all the love. The note that I wrote says, as indicated earlier, I believe the shoujo texture indicates that Yuki is falling for Machi. Why did I write like that? It's really funny to me.
It's a lot of shoujo texture.
It really is. That's what I'm saying. It's like in my head, it's like, imagine me and you. I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right. Isn't that how you read shoujo manga? Let us know in the comments below. I mean, but yeah, like it is a lot of shoujo texture. There's a lot in both of them, and it's really funny because like I feel like we've seen these similar scenes of Machi before, where it's like, and then she pieces out, but Yuki never reacts like this. I feel like this is the moment where he's like, and she said this so many times. This is like the third time or something, or fourth time that we've seen her be like in Yuki's presence, be like, he's not like a prince, and then nothing happens, and then this time, it's like the angels start singing and.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might be that like he's more like more aware of her like as a person right now, since he's gotten a little bit of backstory on her basically from Kakeru.
That's true.
Yeah, so he's actually been like more like not just like, oh, it's one of my weird student council
Problem child.
person people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem
It's like,
children.
oh, this is a person that I have some kind of relationship with and know some things about. So
Yeah. It's the back.
yeah.
makes you see them as a woman, apparently. I guess technically Kyo's back too, because he's turned around towards having the shoujo texture also.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's kind of a thing in like manga and anime a lot, that kind of visual of like seeing someone like walk away and like having kind of a realization. I feel like I see that a lot.
I think you're right, and also about more than just romance,
Yeah.
like about a lot of things. like you realize something about their character, something deep and profound. Yeah, I think that is probably a visual trope.
Talk about Kyo and Tohru.
Oh no, we didn't, because that's great. We need to talk about that. Yeah, we talked about Yuki and Machi.
Even before like the big scene at the end, I think it's super cute that she wanted to get the play rewritten so it would be easier for him to perform.
Yes. Yeah, it was very cute. She's like, oh, by the way, could you also do this? Because then maybe Kyo would join, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And then there's the scene at the end, which is extra cute. I love how she does this thing. I remember she did it before. I think it was also with Kyo and probably in Kyoto, where she like he does something and she like doesn't move, like she freezes, like she forgot like what her hands that they forgot they existed or something. So he takes the script out of her hands and then her hands are like in exactly the same position in the next frame, which is really cute. Like she's like like her heart. I don't know. It's just really funny to me. It's very sweet. It's a Tohru thing.
She's overwhelmed by emotion.
Yes. I mean, who isn't?
It's like we're all overwhelmed by emotion at the end of this chapter.
Yes. I feel like, I don't know if it's like Kyo doesn't notice or if he's still just like in denial too. Where, like he's like deliberately in her personal space. And he's like, I give up. And then he takes the script from her and then he's like, fine, let's go, whatever. And she's just standing there like frozen, like being all blushy.
I feel like in a scene like this, he probably like, he did the thing and then like immediately didn't want to look at her anymore. Cause like, it's like I was emotionally open for a minute and it's embarrassing, so I don't want to see a reaction to it, and so like, immediately like not look back at her. So I could see him missing her, like blushing entirely.
They had their like intense eye contact.
Yeah.
And then he like rests his hand on her shoulder so he's not looking at her, and then he just like probably turned around. I feel like it's like the closest, other than like when they hugged during the true form, it's like one of the times when they're super close. I mean, their faces are so close together.
Yeah, I like it's like sort of a like as close to a hug as they can get without transforming, because like he kind of has his arm like
across her
like across the front of her and is kind of leaning into her.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a very intimate pose.
Yeah.
It's like if she leaned a little bit to the right, it would be a hug, and he would be a cat.
If he like touched her shoulder or something with his like chest or his like shoulder blade instead of his face, then it would be a hug.
Yeah.
In Takaya land, I think. You know, the rules are loose. We've seen.
I hold that it's torso to torso contact.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if they touch chests at all, then
chest to chest, chest to back, but not back to back.
Palm to palm.
Yeah.
Holy Palmer's kiss. No? Okay. Don't you like my literary references?
I like how at the beginning of the scene when he first like comes to see her, how he's got the whole thought about like her being alone and waiting for him. Like what was she thinking? Which makes me think of like way back toward the beginning of the like New Year's thing where they both like suddenly realized like, oh, she was alone on New Year's Eve and alone with her thoughts and stuff, and what must she have been thinking? I feel like it's come up a couple of times, but that was the like first time that kind of concept came up, and so it's kind of, I liked seeing it again.
Yeah, I agree. And it's nice that it's just right after this time where Yuki was like, you were being an asshole. Yeah, you're right. It is I can't remember. I feel like the New Year's time is like the most prominent time where that's a major like sort of plot point. But in that chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, in the beach when he makes Kido makes them all go to the beach.
About leaving her alone and stuff.
Yeah, it's a major obsession of Akido's, and also it's when Akido calls Kyo away as well. Then she's alone, and they're all like, "Oh no, she's all alone." But she wasn't being sad about her mom in those times, as far as we saw, at least.
It's not consciously.
No, yeah, well. She's probably sad about her mom all the time. Yeah. I think, especially at this point. But yeah, not consciously. More so, I guess in this, he thinks that because he feels guilty because Yuki was like, don't you think that, like, you're making everybody worry, especially Tohru. And Kyo's like, damn it. Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got now.
I just had a thought that was like, it's as close as you can hug to be hugging without hugging it. It reminded me of like as close as you can get to Bailey's without your eyes getting wet. But yeah, that's also all I had.
Do a series of like the near hugs and first asking me like, call this one hugging, call this one hugging a bit closer.
What is it called? Bailey's a bit closer. The second one, I don't remember.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. As close as you can hug without turning into a cat.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, good. Let's talk about spoilers. There's probably some spoilers for this. Yeah, there's gotta be.
Yeah, there's at least one.
Okay, good. Then we'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap it up. And the next time we'll be talking about chapters 88 and 89. I hope everyone's excited. I know I am. You definitely should be. We have a preview. All right. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, no. What are you going to do?
Die.
You're like, the world is black. Oh, wait, we have to do our spoilery ETA first. Otherwise known as edited to add. I guess if you edit to add it, that would be that it would have to go back into the episode, the first episode, and edit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Addendum.
Addendum. Correction. Last time we talked about, we had this whole, it was hilarious, so I left it all in, but it was we were like, oh, is this the last time that the hat comes back? Is this the last time the hat comes back? Is this the last hurrah of Hat-san? Should we play taps? Which was hilarious to me. But also, the hat comes back because in chapter, the next, like, in a
Isn't
couple...
that a Studio Ghibli film? The hat came back.
The return of Hat-san.
Yeah.
No, the hat returns. That's what it would be. I was like, the pun's here, I can get it. Yeah. In chapter 119, that is when Kyo reveals that how he knew about the hat, and it has the time that... So, Yuki and Kyo were both, they both ran into Kyoko when Tohru was lost. Mm-hmm. So Kyo knew her from before. Yuki didn't, but Kyo was also there as a child. And he sees the hat at the end when he comes, after Yuki gave Tohru the hat, and Kyo sees it on her, and he recognizes that he gave it to Yuki, so he knows that, Yuki was involved, and he's jealous of how Yuki helped Tohru. So, or whatever, Yuki helped Kyoko, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads into the main spoiler of this chapter.
Yes.
That's the exact scene he was remembering.
Yes.
When he has a little flashback memory of the woman who is Kyoko telling him that
if he didn't have someone to hate, he wouldn't know what to do with himself.
Mm-hmm.
We don't normally converse a lot in between chapters.
Mm-hmm.
not often, or in between recordings about this show specifically. But this time I was like, who is this woman? Am I crazy? What? Mm-hmm. Who is this? Is it lust? I don't know. And also if you have the Tokyo Pop version, the paper that they use, the print, the line, because it's dark, the ingot kind of it's really hard to see the outline of her face. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see it's very thin. If you have a newer print, the paper is not as absorbent or whatever, and so the white space around the black ink is thicker, is easier to see. It didn't bleed as much, so it's a little bit easier to see, but it's still very vague. It's just a mouth and hair.
Yeah. Speaking of, she's also in his little earlier set of childhood flashbacks, a couple pages before, which I didn't even notice until reading it today. I was like, oh, that's Kyoko too.
Which one?
The middle black panel, when he's having the if he touched it, it's not mine anymore thing about the hat.
Oh, the thoughts. Okay, hold on. The memories. Oh yeah, that is. It's her picking up the hat, or holding the hat. Yeah, and it's the street. It looks like the street in front of Tohru's apartment.
Yeah,
you can see it in reverse, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's even harder to see than the
it is
other one. You can at least tell oh, that's a woman's face in the
in the one.
The big long panel, but that one I didn't even realize what it was until today I was looking at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the other version that I have. Yeah, it's a really delicate. Oh yeah, I'm gonna text you a picture of what this looks like right now. For your personal reference. It's way clearer in this collector's edition. I have the Japanese collector's edition with me, not the English one, but it's 1,000 times clearer. That's funny. You'd have no idea what those are. It's very much more obvious in this newer print where it's a a building and there's like the railing and a woman holding the hat, you still might. Well, I guess you would know. You would know because we saw that scene just recently.
Well, we didn't see that part of it.
But Yuki gave the hat. Oh yeah. I mean, I guess it's weird. Well, I guess you don't.
Yeah, we haven't
know
seen
that he was
we haven't
there.
seen Kyoko holding the hat. So.
Yes. Yeah, and also like.
Yeah, like you might maybe be able to remember that was Tohru's house, although it just looks like a building. So.
Yeah.
But the other two scenes we haven't seen yet. But yeah, it's way clearer in the collector's edition.
Yeah, it's like mind-blowingly clear. Actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the woman's face is also like the line work on it is very delicate, so a lot of it just gets lost. So, yeah. If anybody wants to see it, I can like let me know in the. I can scan it and put it on the Tumblr if anybody really wants. But yeah, it anyway. So there's that. That is like the main the main spoiler thing that's referenced here. So. I have in my notes that it was revealed during the beach arc that they knew each other, but this part, like, of the fact that he was there at that time when Yuki led Tohru home hasn't been revealed yet. That's coming later.
Yeah.
Chapter 119 is the one where, it's the one where Tohru's it's right before or like right when she tries to confess to him, and he's like, "You like me, don't you?" And then goes into this whole thing about the backstory of him and Kyoko.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I called it his murder confession.
He's guilty. Lock him up. I mean, this is where the crime drama begins. Get the night school lawyer. She's like, "No, your rights." Oh yeah. It's a good time. We're making jokes because there aren't any other spoilers, I don't think.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I could just say again that all their relationships are going to deepen or whatever. But I think that's kind of obvious. Shoujo texture tells all. Everybody knows that. If for some reason you're reading this for the first time and you never read a shoujo manga before, never read a manga before, I guess I could say that that's a common visualization of.
Yeah, if there's sparkles or bubbles or flower petals, someone's fallen in love.
Yeah, definitely. These are the tropes. We brought the tropes today. The only other spoiler that I have left to say is sort of Cinderella.
It's happening.
It's happening. I hope everyone's excited. And by I hope, I mean I'm pretty sure that everyone's excited because, like, I feel like I've gotten a lot of comments about it. So, so it's going to be a good time. I don't have anything else left to say.
Nope.
I think we can wrap it up there. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time for chapters 88 and 89.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, it's Ellen. If you want to send us a question, you can find us on Twitter at staytogetherpod, on Tumblr at staytogetherpodcast.tumblr.com, or you can send us an old-fashioned email at staytogetherpodcast@gmail.com. Kayla and I want to keep creating podcasts and keep them ad-free. So if you like what you're listening to, please consider giving to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/staytogethernetwork. Thank you always for listening and for all your support. We'll see you next time.